before you say anything, sit down, relax, and hear me out. Naoya Inoue is an all-time great fighter. The man has a good resume, great accomplishments, and formidable skills. Now that's where the problem lies. Although he has speed, power, accuracy, and great IQ, he also has some glaring flaws. Flaws that could catch up to him in the near future. These flaws include the fact that he tends to drop his hands more than you can think, his chin is up in the air a lot, and he throws some wide shots that could be countered. And you can see it all at work in his first knockdown against Luis Neri. The reason Inoue has been able to come this far with such flaws is because he's just so damn athletic, powerful, and again, he has a great in-ring IQ. My concern lies at the fact that if Father Time catches up to him, one of the first things to go is his durability and athletic attributes such as speed. A great example of this is Roy Jones Jr. He was untouchable in his prime and got away with many flaws, but once he got out of his prime, he lost his athleticism, which led to his downfall. Another concern is that Inoue might not be as athletic in the higher weight class with the extra weight on him. Look at me when I'm in my usual weight, and look at me in a heavier weight. All I want from Inoue is to just work on those flaws for the long run in his career. And he might. After all, he is the fastest two-time undisputed champion, just like this next guy over here. Kendrick Lamar is the first two-time undisputed champion, and he's the one who started the trend. Bud has talent and skills out of this world, and I have a bit of a controversial take, and that is that he is close to getting his first L right now than he ever was before. Again, hear me out on this. He moved up to 154, had his first fight against Israel Majmov, who at the time had 11 fights compared to his 40 fights, but he somehow struggled. Now, unlike many, I enjoyed the fight and believe the decision was just. However, he did struggle, and it just makes perfect sense on why he did. After all, he is 37 years old, far from his prime, and he's also in the bigger weight class. He's not as fast and as athletic as he used to, and Majmov's weight wasn't the issue because Crawford was bigger on fight night. Some of his fans believe he can beat Canelo by fighting off the back foot, but fail to realize that Bud isn't Floyd and Canelo isn't 23. And plot twist, Crawford is not an outboxer. Yes, he's slick, but as I've mentioned before, he's a boxer puncher, or at the very least a counter puncher. He doesn't really fight like Floyd Mayweather or Devin Haney. What he does is invite offense, remains in the line of fire, and stays slick in between the exchange in order to be in the position to land his shots. This makes for an interesting fight, but it's also why he gets caught a few times, and it could lead to his downfall as he goes up against heavy, hard-hitting, explosive juggernauts like Tim Tszyu or a hard-hitting 6'6" giant in Fundora. Nonetheless, an all-time great fighter in Canelo, who is 2 weight classes above. Even Errol Spence Jr. and Jerron Boots Ennis might have competitive fights against him in 154, as that would be their second weight class, while this is his 4th. Now, I like Anthony Joshua, but I learned something new in his last fight against Daniel Dubois that nobody's talking about. Other than the fact that he wasn't jabbing more, leading to him spamming the right hand like his Wilder, and the fact that he kept leaning back, exposing his chin, the core root of his ultimate downfall is Ben Davison. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean Davison is a bad coach for AJ. The issue lies in the style Davison teaches. You see, Anthony Joshua is like a clay that is molded by the trainer. He was Rob McCracken's relentless bulldozer, Derrick James's textbook giant, and now he's Ben Davison's deadly scientist. AJ's style with DJ was jab heavy, and because Derrick James knew that Anthony Joshua didn't have the best defense, he made sure he kept his guard high in order to catch punches. Same way he taught Errol Spence. Now, the style that Davison teaches is a more subtle approach. It's more calculative than active in order to set up shots and bait to counter. The style is more dependent on agility, hence why AJ adopted a low guard, and that's what caused him to fight because, I don't know, call me crazy, but I think you should keep your hands up when fighting someone that hits hard. Styles make fights, and some styles that is a kryptonite to many can be an opening for another. This is me fighting someone relying on my agility and reflexes, and this is me fighting against someone who's more physical and hits harder. As fighters, we're supposed to learn to adapt to different styles, but AJ, despite him having a lot of styles in his tool bag, he's unable to do the necessary adjustments mid-fight. He can only adapt outside of the ring, and a recent example of adjustments is none other than this fight over here. Makumbi's explosiveness and power troubled Plant, so he adjusted by pushing him back, which got him the KO win. Another fighter that didn't fix their mistakes mid-fight is Devin Haney. Despite his impressive resume, Haney has a trend in choice of opponents. They were either small for the weight class or just in comparison, shorter than him in height and in reach, or simply just out of the prime. He never fought a fighter that was in the prime who was around the same weight and height. That's part of the reason why Ryangarcia was such a bad matchup for Haney, because not only does he suffer against speed, as seen by how he got rocked by both Linares and Garcia, this fight exposed his weak defense and bad habits. Devin Haney is known to be a defensive fighter, but plot twist, he's not. In reality, he's an evasive fighter. And the difference between the two is that one can remain in the line of fire and defend shots, while an evasive fighter uses the feet as a form of defense by getting out of range. And Haney doesn't remain in the line of fire, he clinches. Now, why didn't his evasive skills work against Ryangarcia? Because Garcia exploited his bad defense and Haney's chin couldn't recover. Here are two defensive errors he made. First off, the bow and arrow effect. Haney drops his right hand whenever he jabs, and you can see it in all his fights. Garcia's speed, timing, and reach is what caused him to hurt Haney in the first round. The second flaw in his defense is his habit to dip to the right side. He constantly repeats that, and again that made it easy for Garcia to land his best shot, which is the left hook. The reason why these flaws were only exploited now is because Ryan isn't small, short, or out of his prime. Other than that, his explosiveness made it easy for him to close the distance that Haney tried to create. Haney could fix these errors, but he's not holding himself accountable. And now we've reached the last fighter to expose today. Unlike the fighters in this list who already got exposed one way or another, this one is perceived as untouchable. Which is false because in my opinion, Dmitry Bivol is overrated. I know it sounds like blasphemy, but hear me out. Bivol lacks in resume, and his best win to date is against a fighter who started off his career at welterweight, moving up to fight in light heavyweight. Now, Bivol isn't a bad fighter, he's just not as good as everyone says he is. His defense comprises of him holding an inactive high guard, and other than that, his other defensive method is using the pendulum step. Bivol doesn't really have any head movement, which is probably why in his last fight he ate a lot of jabs. And to tell you the truth, his best defense is honestly his offense. His combinations and constant lead hand activity alongside with his footwork just makes it hard for his opponents to catch him. And as I've mentioned before, a fighter with good defense is someone who can be slick in the line of fire and can perform many defensive techniques. Canelo can slip, parry, block, and turn his head away from shots. Tank has multiple guards he can access, and both Loma and Usyk use the footwork to both evade and attack. Other than Bivol's jab, his other best trait is his pendulum step, but its predictable rhythm and pattern makes it possible to get timed. Manny, are you okay? Manny, are you okay? Are you okay, Manny? Bivol is still hard to beat, which makes his fight against Artur Beterbiev so interesting. What has a huge factor in this fight? Is Bivol overrated, or will Beterbiev's knee injury at the age of 40 leave him at a disadvantage? Or am I just tripping and Bivol is actually perfectly rated? Nonetheless, drop a comment down below, and that's that. My name is Ike the Giant Killer. Hope you guys enjoyed, and until next time, peace.